All right, now we're learning this Sikha of the Rebbe that the Rebbe gave in 1966, Tav Shin Chav Vav, and it talks about what exactly is Chassidut. What is this teaching of Chabad, Chassidut? The Rebbes of Chabad wrote hundreds, thousands of essays, and even more, hundreds and thousands of even books. Each one containing, tens and tens of very, very deep essays, especially explaining Kabbalistic ideas. But it's not Kabbalah. It's not Kabbalistic ideas, because Kabbalah is just one of the four aspects of the Torah. And we're going to see that Chassidut is an all-encompassing fifth level of the Torah that really cannot be defined in the same way as the other types of Torah. There's what's called the revealed Torah, and then there's the hints of the Torah, and the stories of the Torah, and the allegories of the Torah, and the metaphors of the Torah. Then there's the secrets of the Torah that can generally be rolled up into four categories, which is called Pshat, Remesh, Drush, and Sod. The simple meaning, and the allegorical or metaphorical meaning of the Torah, and then the mysteries of the Torah. That's called the Sod. And then there's Chassidut. And Chassidut it's another dimension of the Torah, but it's not separate in a way from the other four. It just is. It's a different type of awareness. To put it simply, it's the godliness in the Torah. If a person thinks that you can separate God from the Torah, well, without Chassidut, you're very justified to think so. But the idea of Chassidut is to know that the Torah and God cannot be separated. And eventually, because the Torah is the creation of the world, so the Torah and the world can't be separate. So let's go, here we go. So it said that Chassidut reveals this inner level, which is called the crown. Let's see what we get over here. We go. We're just making a sort. Here it says, it draws down a new light. In other words, a new awareness of God. In Kabbalah, it's called Panimiyut HaKeter, the inside of what's called God's crown. Or even higher, the infinite Ein Sof, the infinite one himself, which is found in this Kabbalistic level, which is called Radlad, Reisha Delo Yechida, the beginning, the incomprehensible beginning of all beginnings. That's the infiniteness of God, which is found in. So if it's the infiniteness of beginning of everything, it's the beginning, and the world is created from the Torah. So this is the inside highest level of the Torah, and also the highest level of the world, and the highest level of the Jew. That's what Chassidut talks about. Now you can ask a question, of course, come on, really, who are you fooling? The Torah is just a book. How can it talk? Life is life. Life is real. Life is real. It's not just a book. The Torah is just a book, even the secrets of the Torah. It's just books. And life is really real. So the answer is yes, that's what it seems. You're 100% right. But the fact of the matter is that life comes from the Torah. We don't know. We have no way of perceiving this. But the fact is the whole world is created from and through the Torah. The Torah is more real than the world is. But when the world is used the way the Torah wants to, then the world becomes real also. And the same thing with the Jews, and the same thing with the non-Jews. If they use their energy, their life, their intellect, their emotions, their speech, their thought, their actions, in the way that God wants, is that makes them also connected to this, what's called Ein Sof, the infinite truth of God, which is another name called the Radallah, Reisha Delo Yechida, the beginning that cannot be known, or that doesn't know itself. Okay, so we said that all of the other aspects of the Torah, they all come from God, right? And Torah and Chassidut talks about God. So therefore, all of the different aspects of the Torah, they all come they express in some way this idea of Chassidut, including all of the good character traits of the Torah, the coaching part of the Torah is called Pirkei Avot, that teaches you how to improve your personality, your attitude toward the world, your outlook, your values, your paradigms. This all comes from, everything comes from the Torah, and it all comes from God. Like it's known the story of the previous Rebbe that once there was a big argument which political and economic system is the best. And the previous Rebbe said that all of them have a place in the Torah. They all come from the Torah. And to the degree that they're connected to the Torah, they're good. But as soon as they get separated from the Torah, then it's not good anymore. Okay. The Torah, because it's the ultimate truth, so therefore anything in the world that has any truth in it has to have its place in the Torah. And the Torah is the highest type of philosophy, the highest type of understanding, there's a long story. I think I told it to you, but the end point of the long story is that the Rebbe learned physics or whatever it is, there's a class in engineering or something in France. I think it was in the Sorbonne. The Rebbe learned in the Sorbonne. He learned in other places also. Anyway, he finished this very difficult test in like, it was supposed to be a 4 or 5 hour test, and he finished it like in a half an hour. And the teacher said, he must have been cheating. And then when he saw the high grade that the Rebbe got, so he apologized. And he asked the Rebbe, how could you possibly have, there's people that have good minds, but how could you have learned this so quickly and so thoroughly? So the Rebbe said, there's a book in Judaism called the Talmud, and every wisdom is in the Talmud. A person that really knows the Talmud, he can adapt himself to any wisdom, and it's the source of all wisdoms. So, of course, he was also talking about the godliness of the Talmud, but it came out in actual, he did well on the test. So all the wisdoms in the world, the good which is in them comes from the Torah. We, of course, have to reveal it. We can't just rely on the Torah and say that's going to heal people from, their diseases. You have to use medicine, etc. Says, but the main thing of the Torah is that it's united with the infiniteness of God. All of this is the main point of Chassidut, the godliness of the Torah, the godliness, pure godliness, and all the other aspects of the Torah. All the other aspects of the Torah, Pshat, Remesh, Drush, and so on, are all limited. They're defined to their area that they discuss. The Pshat is the simple meaning. The drush is a little bit of a homiletic meaning, and etc. They're limited. But Chassidut, because it's pure godliness, talks about pure godliness, so it's not limited. It can give, add a new dimension to all the other aspects of the Torah. Because of the simpleness of the Ein Sof, the infinite godliness which is in it. All right. The special thing of the Chassidut, I think this is where we got up to understand a little bit of what is this essence of the teachings of Chassidut Chabad especially. So we have to understand what is the main inner content of Meshiach. Because Meshiach is the goal of Judaism, it's the goal of creation. Meshiach. What is Meshiach going to do? The Rambam says, you look in the end of the Rambam, he says very clearly, Meshiach is going to be a person like King David, and that he's going to teach the whole world about God, so that eventually the whole world will be filled with the awareness of God. That's what Meshiach is. That all of the world, in every aspect of life, you'll feel the Creator. That's Meshiach. Because that's the goal of Judaism. From the goal, from the reward, you know what the thing is. Right? From the reward of the thing, you know what? You work hard in the world, you get money. So you can understand what the world is worth if the biggest reward you can get is money. If, like, a person is interested in healing, so you know what medicine is, because the goal of medicine is supposed to be healing, making people healthy. So you know how valuable medicine is. So the whole idea of Chassidut is to bring Meshiach. So from the goal, Meshiach, so we can know how valuable Chassidut is. The Baal Shem Tov asked the Meshiach, how are you going to come? So he said, by spreading out your well springs. Atimar, that's when the master is going to come. Master in this case is talking about the Meshiach. Da Malka Mashiach, this is the King Messiah. Hare, behold, Ha'in Shel Meshiach, the whole idea of Meshiach, which that's the reward of all of our service in the world, the reward of learning Chassidut and putting Chassidut into everything is Meshiach. So from understanding Meshiach, we can understand a little bit about what is Chassidut. In the coming of the Meshiach, there will be invented, brand new, many, many very, very high things. Meshiach. What's Meshiach going to do? There's one person. What's he going to do? Something like, let's say, what Moses did, right? What did Moses do? He made a whole new thing, things that had never been before. All of a sudden, a whole nation was taken out of imprisonment, and there were these big miracles. There was bread came from heaven. God gave the Torah to all 3 million people on a mountain. Like Moses, the Mashiach is going to be even greater. One of the things of Mashiach is going to be the redeeming of all the Jewish people. The awakening of all the Jewish people. And the removing of all the Jewish people, and also the Shekhinah, and also the removing of God's presence from exile. And that's one of the most basic things. Even higher than this, says that all the Jewish people will be tremendous geniuses, and they'll know secret things. They'll be aware of the perceptions, things that God perceives. And they'll have new intuition into godliness. Right? Like nowadays, you have somebody has big intuition in business, right? He knows where to put the money. Ooh, this is a very tremendously valuable. Who doesn't want a person like that? Right? And knows where to bet, or which stocks are going to raise, which stocks are going to fall. This person has a deep intuition. Everybody wants to be with a person like that. Right? Well, it says every Jew is going to have a deep intuition about what life is. Right now, people want money for themselves, but they don't know what themselves is. They don't want them. What is myself? So in the future, people are going to know what their self is, what really life is really about. They're going to understand what the creator of life is. The world will be filled with the knowledge of God. That's and something even higher than that. There's going to be the change. The world is going to change. The dead will rise. And that's what it says. That the only difference between the Meshiach coming and now is just that the Jews won't be under foreign rule. This is the beginning of the time of the exile. I mean, essentially, that's right now. It just depends on us. We're putting ourselves under foreign. We're begging the nations to rule over us, right? We're begging them, please tell us what to do. You know, we're afraid of the United Nations. We haven't got any courage. But as soon as if the Israeli government had courage, they had identity at least. So then the fact of the matter is that we're totally free. That's the fact. But we're just hypnotized. Shemaimar, this is what it says regarding to the Amia Oretz. It says by the simple Jews that the only difference between the days of the Mashiach and now is that there won't be any servitude to the 9 Jews, which is not the case in the Talmidei Chachamim, people that know Torah a little bit and they're really waiting for the revelation of God. That's what they're going to have. There'll be godliness which is above nature will be revealed. And as you'll see, everything that happens, amazing miracles. Everything that's happening is amazing miracles. Therefore, says that God's name will be read like the way it's written. God's name is written Yud, and then there's a Hey, and then there's a Vav and a Hey, but we don't say Yud, we say, how do we say Adonai? We say Aleph, Daled, Nun. Why? Because what's the big deal? How we read God's name? It says because the whole world will be filled with the name of God. And God, it says God will be one. What does it mean one? God is one now, but in the future it'll be revealed that God is one, and there won't be any. The world won't be mundane. The world will be still. It'll be the same world, but it'll just be precious, transparent. It'll be above time and above space. Something like the revelation that was in the Beit HaMikdash, in the Holy Temple. That's what it was in the Holy Temple, in the Holy of Holies. I mean, which in a way sort of makes sense, because every second that we're alive, that every instant of life is a big miracle. When we look in the past and we look in the future, so that's no big deal. Everything is, just like a movie or something. You watch a movie, there's a beginning, there's an end. Same thing with my life. That's good about if you look in the past and the future. But if you look at the present right now, which that's really all we've got is the present, you'll see that the present is a big miracle. So in the future, we'll appreciate the present more. We'll appreciate the present. And we won't be so stuck in the past, and we won't be so worried about the future. The future will give us promise, and the past will give us wisdom. But the main thing is the present. This is what's going to be not only in this physical world, but in all of the worlds, even the highest worlds, go according to what this world goes. Everything was created just for us, all the angels and everything. Like, for instance, it says, when is the beginning of the month and the holidays? It all is determined by the rabbis down here when they declare the moon. So the upper worlds are according to what we decide here. Since in the coming of the Meshiach, Mishtana will be changed. The whole entire world and all of its details, people will only be concerned about truth and about meaning, about life. Hari Shinoi Dugmaso, so because all the upper worlds are determined by this world, so all the worlds will be changed. The angels, everything. I mean, what do we care really about the angels? But it's just to tell us that nowadays you see an angel, everybody freaks out. An angel says is as big as the universe, 3 times as big as the universe, whatever it means. And all the angels will be not as holy and real as we are. So after that, and this is all going to be caused by Chassidut, by having the proper awareness of God and attitude toward life. So if so, that's what it says. After we said all these things, as big and as high as they are, the raising of the dead and all these amazing revelations of godliness that's going to be in the whole world, even in the upper worlds, these are just results from the main point, which is Meshiach. Meshiach is the central point, like the seed, and everything grows out. The revelation of God, the benefit of the world, mankind, etc. The uniting of the Creator with the creation will feel. That's the main. Okay, so what is the main thing of Meshiach? What is the Meshiach also has an inner point? What is the inner point of the Meshiach? It is Yechida. It's a level of the soul called Yechida. Kiyadu, as is known. It says that King David, he served God with all of his being, and he refined the lowest level of the soul called nefesh. Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu, he also served God with all of his being, and he refined a little bit higher level, the next dimension of the soul, which is called ruach. That's like the emotions. Love of God. Moshe, he also served God with all of his being, and he refined to the ultimate degree of refinement, the level which is called neshama. That's the intellect. Adam Arishon, the first man that was created, he refined the level of Chaya. And Meshiach, he will refine the level of Yechida to make it accessible to everyone. So if it wasn't for these 5 men, we would just be like, basically like animals. We'd be intelligent animals, but like everybody would be like, Spinoza or somebody. No God, life is but a dream. And because of these 5 people, so there's an awareness of the Creator. David aroused it. There's awareness of the Creator in a very simple level of soul. Elijah the prophet more in the emotions, that's ruach. Moshe more in the intellect, that's the neshama. The first man, Adam, first one, he purified, refined, brought into this world the aspect of chaya, that's like willpower, but Meshiach will be Yechida. Meshiach will be like true identity, uniting with God, the deepest level of the soul. It's called the 5th level of the soul. In one sense, it's only present by Jews in relation to God. Getting pleasure out of serving God, out of self-sacrifice to God, getting pleasure from this, from God, not from spiritual. The whole idea, this is the level of Yechida. And now the Rebbe is going to really develop this idea of Yechida, the highest level of the soul. The advantage of Yechida over the other 4 levels of the soul, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, and Chaya. There's 5 levels in every soul. So the highest of these 5 levels is called Yechida. Yechida means several things. It means like unique, and it means singular, and it means united, and it means like set aside. These are the other 4 levels of the soul are individual aspects of the soul. But this aspect of Yechida is not a level of the soul. So to speak, it's not an aspect of the soul. This is the essence of the soul, which is above any sort of definition. Shema, like its name. What is its name? Its name is Yechida. It's totally united with God. Even though it's got a name, it's called Yechida. And it's got another name, it's called the essence of the soul. But nevertheless, it's really not a name. It's just used to indicate that from this level, Nimshach has drawn out the 4 lower levels of the soul, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, and Chai. But nevertheless, it's not that Yechida is like a source for these other levels. Because Yechida indicates that it's true oneness that that from it does not come any details. It's total oneness. Gam Yiger Makor L'Pratim, it's not even a source of any of the details. Not a source. I don't know if there's any example that I can find that's similar to this. But let's take, I'm sort of jumping off here. But let's say we have reality. Reality. Can we say that beautiful music is a result of reality? Beautiful music is certainly something that's real, but reality does not produce beautiful music. It doesn't produce genius ideas or beautiful pictures or something. Beautiful pictures, they partake of reality, but reality doesn't emanate these things. Something like that, but infinitely more so. This level of Yechida of the soul, it's pure, ultimate reality. And it has no connection to the details which come out of it, even though all the other details do come out of it. Just like music is part of reality. Like it's known the difference between Yachid and Echad. Like the difference when we say God is one, and we don't say God is Yachid, God is unique. Why? Because Echad means that God contains all of the details. He's Echad, he unites all the opposites and makes them into one. But Yachid means that God is unique, that he's not relevant to any of the details. His reality is so infinitely real that it's not in anywhere compared to all the details. It's almost like saying, how much money do you have to have in order to get reality? It's two different things. But on the other hand, money is reality, isn't it reality? So let's say, okay, you don't want to answer. What about $1 trillion? Well, you think $1 trillion, that's reality? You know, after you have $1 billion, then you can get to reality. That's ridiculous. Even 1 penny is reality. Money and reality. What about music? How much music do you have to make reality? It's a ridiculous question. Here we're talking about ultimate reality of the creator of reality, a whole different level of reality. Says this Yechida, this is the essence of the Jewish soul. But from it, because it exists there, from it can come these other 4 levels also. Just like, for instance, in every individual soul, everybody has this level, every Jew has this level of Yechida. This is the essence of the soul. And so it is also the life of the soul and all the details of the soul. This level of Yechida, which is in it, this is and this is, so to speak, the Meshiach, which is in every soul. This is the essence, innermost point of life that cannot be in any way described or defined or limited. That from this point, this inner point of the soul, Yechida, this is this Meshiach, which is in every single soul, the essence, G-dliness, which is in every single soul, that from this comes out all of the other individual qualities of the soul, Chaya, Neshama, Ruach, Nefesh, in general. Because the essence of life, the essence of Judaism is united with the essence of God, and God is not limited. I mean, to the point, everybody asks the question, if God creates everything, then who created God? So the answer is, God is not a thing. God is not a thing. He's not a being. God does not exist in any way we can understand. God creates all existence. His reality is so real. And that's the essence of every Jewish soul also, the same thing. This is the infinite, obligable, the unlimitedness. It's not just that God is unlimited in a way that he's like eternal, that he can't be grasped in any time or place. That even though that these one of the reasons it says in the future there will be eternal life. It says that the dead will rise up and there'll be eternal life. And now when it's drawn into the land, there's only just a small, what do you call it, a ray of life is drawn into the world. That's why people die. But in this level of the spreading out of God's reality, and then there can be differences, stopping, starting, limitation, which is not the case in the future. It says the essence of God's reality will be revealed in this world. So it says that therefore there won't be any more changes. But what does that mean? It won't be any more changes. It means that everything we do, everything we say, and will be actions and speech, but it'll all be infinite. It'll all be real. In simple language, we'll just see and feel what the commandments really are when we do them. Ella, gam be'inyan eichut v'mala, sheshalem hu betachlit hashlemus. But also, if we're talking about quality and excellence, this level of Yechida is the source of all excellence. It's the source of all qualities, the source of love, the source of truth, the source of. Therefore, when it is drawn down this level of Yechida, which that's the whole essence of what Chassidut is talking about, and only in Chassidut is it spoken about. And not only is it spoken about, but that's really the only topic that there is in Chassidut. Therefore, everything will show that it has an essential life in itself. So automatically there will be completeness in the world. Okay, so what's the Rebbe trying to say? The Rebbe is trying to say that what the job of the Jews is to reveal God in the world, the Creator in the creation. That's the whole Bible. What's the Bible? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. God created. God spoke to Adam. God gave him commandments. God gets angry. God gets happy. God brings a flood. The whole story is that the whole Torah is talking about what God does. What God does. So a person can make a mistake and think that God is one of the characters. He's like the most important character. He's the most spiritual character of the Torah. Of course, you can make a mistake. Because in a way that God led us to make the mistake. He did create the world. It seems that he's separate from the world, and he did speak to Adam, so it seems he's separate from Adam. But the fact of the matter is it's not so. That God is totally above and beyond any sort of limitation or description. That's why we don't call God by any name. We call him Hashem, the name. Because it's not like God's existence is the source of all other existence. But on the other hand, his existence is not a limited existence or a defined existence in any way. That's this level of Yechida. That's what Chassidut talks about. That's the whole purpose of giving the Torah in the world. That's why when God gave the Torah on Mount Sinai, everybody's souls jumped out of their bodies. Because what was revealed there? True reality. It wasn't some sort of a new spirit from the land of Zork or something from the outer space of some science fiction. This is talking about exactly the opposite. It's not fiction. It's real, true, actual reality. The ultimate what reality really is. And that's what Chassidut is dealing with. Revealing true, actual, ultimate, infinite reality in the world through the Torah. And through the Jews learning the Torah. And that's who's going to put all this thing together? That's the Meshiach. So really Chassidut is the teachings of the Meshiach. That's the idea of Yechida. So if anybody asks you what's the difference between Chassidut, Chabad, and all the other teachings, you can say one word, Meshiach. Chabad explains about, stresses, it teaches you how to relate to and how to manifest in this world the Meshiach. And what is the Meshiach? It's the level of Yechida in the side of every Jewish soul, and there will be one human being, a person, there will be the relative of King David, and he will manifest this Yechida and bring it out in every single person and in the Torah, and eventually in the whole entire world, this level of Yechida. That's what Chassidut does, and that is this week's lesson. God bless you. Have a good week and a happy Chanukah with Mashiach now.
Thank you very much, Meshiach now. Very, very inspiring.
Thank you. Shalom.
Shalom, shalom.